Good evening, everyone. Just a quick reminder that the Wednesday night formal discussions are recorded, both the Dharma lecture and the discussion Q&A. However, if you would like your question removed before we post the recording, you feel free to message me or send me an email or a private message here, and that can be done. So we want to respect your privacy as well. But this session is being recorded. And tonight, our guest speaker is Teresa Bouza, who has been practicing at Kanendo for a number of years. Let me unmute you, Teresa, if I can find you. There you are. Hey, Teresa, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us how long you've been at Kanendo?
Sure. Well, good evening. Good morning for me.
Oh, Teresa's in Spain right now. So
yes, I think many of you know me, but I see some people I haven't met. So I have been at Kanendo since 2014, and I was ordained as a priest in August 2019. And I am, as Bonnie said, I am currently in Spain. I was supposed to travel back to the US on March, but because of the current crisis, I was trapped here. So I will be here for a few more months till things go back to normal. Well, first of all, I wanted to remember all the people who are suffering from the physical, emotional, and financial impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Here in Spain, it has hit the country really bad, and it has affected some of my friends and their relatives. I'm glad that everybody at our Sangha is okay so far. And I would also like to thank all the healthcare workers and janitors, delivery people, grocery workers, farm workers, police, firefighters, and all others who are risking their safety to help others and care for those who are suffering. I am now in Ortigueira, which is a small village in northwestern Spain of 2,000 people, and I am pretty sure I am the only Buddhist practitioner here. I have missed all of you very much these last few months, and I am grateful for our shared practice and the opportunity to be connected through Zoom till we can meet in person. The practice has been helpful for me in this current situation. It certainly helps to know that even if it's just on an intellectual level, that we're all connected, and that there is space in this, even if we are confined at home and there is a lockdown, there is a space. And even if we are far away from our teacher-less and our Sangha, it's good to know that we are our own masters, and that we rely, as always, in our own effort. I've been reading the book What the Buddha Taught by Walpola Rahula, and I like something that I read there that says that a true Buddhist is the happiest of beings. He has no fears or anxieties. He's always calm and serene, and cannot be upset or dismayed by changes or calamities, because he sees things as they are. And I found that encouraging. I thought, well, I have to work harder to be a true Buddhist. So, you know, when I thought about tonight's talk, what to talk about, for some reason, the image that came to me was the image of flowing water, and that's what I would like to talk about today briefly. And then I would like to know where are you tonight, and how are you all doing, and whatever you want to discuss. Maybe you also want to talk about how practice is sustaining you in these challenging times. So flowing water, that's what, as I said, that's what came to me when I thought about the talk tonight. I also thought about talking about space, because that's something I've been reflecting on too. But I consulted with Les, and he said, "Oh, that's going to be complicated." So I changed my mind. Anyways, I recently got a reminder from my iPhone. You know how the iPhone makes sometimes collection of pictures and turns them into a video. So the title of that video was "At the Shore Over the Years," and it's a video that shows images of time I spent at the shore in California and Spain during these last few years. And you know, it was a refreshing video in these times of quarantine, and a good reminder that I am always happy when I am near the water. I grew up in this village in Spain where I am right now, and it's a place where it rains a lot during the winter, and it's by the ocean. So flowing water has been a very important part of my life. The house where I grew up was on a hill, and I can still remember the sound of water running downhill. And my happiest childhood memories are also the summer breaks spent at the beach. So flowing water also makes me think about my father, who was a man who never praised his accomplishments, but he always felt proud of the fact that he learned how to swim. And he learned how to swim at a local river called Rio El Baleo. And that's where we scattered his ashes when he passed away. So now when I come home here in Spain and I hear the sound of a river, I always think of him. This image of flowing water also reminds me of one of my favorite quotes by Suzuki Roshi that is inscribed at the bell that is hanging at the Engawa at Kannon-do. And is a quote that I'm sure you're all familiar with. And it says, we must have beginner's mind, free from possessing anything, a mind that knows everything is in flowing change. Nothing exists but momentarily in its present form and color. One thing flows into another and cannot be grasped. Before the rain stops, we hear a bird. During these last few months in Spain, before the lockdown started on March 14th, and we have been confined at home without the outdoors exercise option, I went for walks before dawn every day, and in a way it was my replacement for sasen at Kannon-do, a way to give birth to a new day, like we do at Kannon-do every morning when we sit sasen. And during these morning walks, I walk by the coast, very close to the water. So one of those mornings, I was walking near the water, and I look at it, it was moving very softly. And for some reason, I really, it was one of those moments when it really hits you. So I really felt the flow of life. And the quote by Suzuki Roshi took a deeper meaning. I think I was able to better understand what he meant when he said that one thing flows into another and it cannot be grasped. And it was a nice feeling. It was the feeling of, the fluidity of life, but also feeling sustained and supported. So my intuitive response at that moment was to trust, to have trust. And I discussed that with a friend of mine, and I like what she said. She said, if I could, she has 2 daughters, and she said, if I could give my daughters a gift, I would like to give them, in Spanish we say confianza, which means trust. So I thought that's nice. I think that would be a nice gift to give to your child. I like these words about human life attributed by the Buddha to a teacher named Araka, who was free from desires. And he compares life to a mountain river, flowing far and swift and taking everything along with it. And he said, there is no moment, no instant, no second when it stops flowing, but it goes on flowing and continuing, which is similar to what this image of not being able to step twice into the same river, for fresh waters are ever flowing in upon you. So I think the illusion of separation makes everything more difficult, and I think it it helps me to return to a passage that I think reconnects with the wisdom of life and death, and that's the waterfall. So I like to read it. I went to Yosemite National Park and I saw some huge waterfalls. The highest one there is 1340 feet high, and from it the water comes down like a curtain thrown from the top of the mountain. It does not seem to come down swiftly as you might expect. It seems to come down very slowly because of the distance. And the water does not come down as one stream, but is separated into many tiny streams. From a distance, it looks like a curtain, and I thought it must be a very difficult experience for each drop of water to come down from the top of such a high mountain. It takes time, a long time, for the water finally to reach the bottom of the waterfall. And it seems to me that our human life might be like this. We have many difficult experiences in our life, but at the same time, I thought the water was not originally separated, but was one whole river. Only when it is separated does it have some difficulty in falling. And that's all. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. So now we have a chance so anyone can ask questions to Teresa. And please remember to unmute yourself.
Megan, I love your background. Very nice.
I think Craig had a question.
I did. Hi, everybody, and hi, Teresa. It's lovely to hear from you. Thank you for getting up so early to share it with us. I wanted to share a personal experience also related to a waterfall, touching on similar kinds of concepts, but with a slightly different analogy. In the story you were telling, it's thinking of the journey of someone's life from beginning to end as being starting at the top of the waterfall when it's cast out from the river and then ending at the bottom when it rejoins whatever is at the bottom of the waterfall. And when I was in somewhere in the Santa Cruz Mountains, there was a waterfall there, not so big, like 20, 30 feet maybe, and very smooth. So it was falling continuously. And I was thinking of it like a metaphor, not as life from top to bottom, but just a person as a waterfall, someone's life as a waterfall. And looking at it, that moment to moment, it's completely changed. There's no single part of the water there anymore that was there a moment before. But you can't help but look at it and think about it and see it as one continuous thing. And it's true. There is still a waterfall there from moment to moment as you look at it. But underneath what it's made of is in constant change. And it's passing through the waterfall. And yeah, I found that very entrancing, and that kind of the separation that you were talking about, this kind of artificial but very convincing sense of being separate and distinct and continuous and boundaried. I like the waterfall analogy, is understanding how that illusion can maybe be very convincing, but completely untrue at a different level. So thank you for sharing the water stories. And Megan, thank you also for the water backdrop. Is perfect.
Yes. As you have chosen that. Thank you. I wonder, maybe somebody wants, I don't know if that's something that somebody feel inspired to share, how whether you're feeling supported by practice right now, or if you find that practice is helpful at the current moment and with the current situation.
I have a comment, actually. Because you're all mentioning Megan's water background that's moving in the back, it's interesting with practice, because normally with practice, we think we're supposed to be present with what's here right now. No fake backgrounds, no Instagram filters. That's how we traditionally think about practice. But the truth is, practice is both the outer world as well as the inner world. So when we use things like imagination and things that make us happy and peaceful scenes, like water in the background and the palm trees, that's actually being present to what's here right now also. But it's bringing out what's here present for us on the inside, the inner world, as well as the outer world. So I'm finding that during this time of quarantine, I'm going inside a lot more and cleaning house internally, seeing what thoughts are not serving life and not helpful, and then being reminded of things maybe I haven't thought of in a long time, but that inspire me, that I want to get back to more. I mean, just some examples are like when I was a child, I used to have pen pals. I used to write letters all the time. And now it's just, paying bills and junk mail. And now today I started writing letters again. So I think, the practice is manifesting slightly differently because we're not as bombarded with meeting the outside world, but we're having to deal with maybe the inside world more and cleaning up inside. That's how it is for me.
Yeah.
So I approve of your background, Megan. I approve. Diane or Megan or okay. Oh, okay, Diane. Sorry. Wait, Diane. You're on mute. Let me find you. There you go. Okay.
Okay. Did
Yeah.
you unmute?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Teresa. I love the image of water, and I love that passage from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, the image of the drop of water coming by itself down the waterfall for that long journey and then finally meeting the river. And I was thinking about when I first no longer believed in the religion I grew up with. And it was when I read the book Siddhartha when I was about 16, and I really didn't understand it that much. But somehow it meant more to me than what I was learning in school. And I think that was when I first began my journey to this practice and to the Buddhist teaching. And I remember that in that book, which I haven't read for 30 years or more, there was the image of the river and the flow of the river and how everything is one in the river. And that image has come back to me just recently because I've been thinking about that book. And I have a grandson that asks some very deep questions like, do you think we come back after we die as an animal or something else? And I wondered if there was maybe a younger person's version of that book, because it's really a wonderful story. And I think it would be something that he would enjoy. So anyway, I love the image of the water. And thank you.
Thank you. No, I think Megan. Yeah.
Yeah, I find I understand what you're saying, and the image is right, and I find it more difficult to go to that space in the situation we're at now, where you listen to the news and it's all kind of dire, or that it could potentially be dire, and I wish I had more of a way to reach that. Like, it takes me more of an effort than it did in the past, or it does right now. You know, I can get kind of anxious about the whole thing. And you in Spain sounds worse than here, so I'm impressed that you're able to keep that image of water and use it positively. Yeah.
Well, I have my difficult moments, as I said, you know, especially with the lack of space. Sometimes I get claustrophobic. So that's where I say that the practice has been helpful, because when I feel that I have no space, like mental space, I know that there is a space because I have accessed it before. And just knowing that is even if sometimes now I cannot access it, it helps me.
Yeah.
And it's been great to, you know, have this group and be connected on Zoom with our Zoom master, Bonnie Sarmiento. Because, you know, of course, it's not the same as meeting in person, but because I'm far away, it gives me the opportunity to be connected to all of you and just feel part of the Sangha. So that's also been very supportive. and creating spaces, sacred spaces at my house here. Like now my room is a sacred space because it's where I usually sit when we sit satsang in the morning. So for me, it's been very, very supportive. And water, yes, water is good.
I think Nick had a question.
Teresa, thank you for the wonderful talk. And actually something else that I really wanted to thank you for was for starting that really great creative platform that you did under the same sky. That's been a really, really cool thing to log in and kind of see some of the points of view and creative expression of other members of the Sangha. And one of the things that is kind of giving me a sense of hope of getting through this huge pandemic is thinking back, you know, when we were as a human civilization were in the dark ages and the bubonic plague, the era that came after that was the Renaissance, this huge outpouring of creativity. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you for kind of getting the ball rolling on what might be our next Renaissance. But I was hoping, could you maybe elaborate a little bit on maybe what inspired you to create this project for us, this Under the Same Sky, and any thoughts you might have on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thank you for your contribution. I really enjoyed your COVID session story and the beautiful picture you shared for the site. Thank you. I don't think I had the chance to meet you in person, but I very much look forward to meeting you when I go back. So what inspired me to create the site was, you know, as I mentioned in the site, I read this story about the Japanese sending masks and thermometers to Wuhan during the crisis to help them, and the fact that I found it really nice, the fact that they wrote this, you know, part of a poem in the boxes. I thought, wow, how beautiful. And so I read a little bit more about the story behind the poem. And this image of being under the same sky, it was very powerful for me. So I thought it would be nice to, so I felt under the same sky with all of you, with all my Sangha members, even if we are far away. And I talked to Kai-Seng. I told him I have this idea about creating this page and inviting everybody to collaborate and you know, see how they're doing. It would be a nice portrait about how we are collectively going through this experience, and maybe, you know, it's also a way to start this project of brainstorming about creative solutions for this situation. So he liked the idea, and we started working on it. And then I think what is really nice about the page that Kai-Seng created is the fact that everybody's face is there. I think that's really nice. And first we were thinking about using a different image, but then Bonnie said something like, oh, I think it's nice to see people's faces right now. And then I thought, oh yes, that's a very good idea. Yes, let's put people's faces. And I love the page too. Everybody's like, it's such a different flavor from everybody, you know, and yeah, it's wonderful. And we keep getting more contributions, so that's nice. I think it's like 27 right now or so.
Yeah, and thanks also to Kaizen for helping with that. He's on.
Oh yes, of course. Kaizen was.
He's hiding. There he is. There he is. Okay.
It was wonderful to work with Kaizen. Such a wonderful working collaboration. And he has always a friend for every kind of situation. When we when he did the audiobook, he found this amazing audio engineer. So now he has a friend who is a designer, a Japanese woman, and she helped creating the page. So thank you, Kaisen. You did a great job.
Vanessa?
Sorry, I'd just like to add real quick. I discovered there are some amazing poets and photographers in our group that I didn't know about before. So great job, everyone who contributed.
Yeah. Everybody's contribution. I love, Megan, what you share about that people in your apartment complex come out to the balconies every day to sing and wave. That's nice.
Vanessa?
Thank you, Teresa. It's just such a lovely image of the flowing water. And so it got me thinking about like streams and rivers. And I was also thinking about the power of moving water, how it has the power to smooth and sculpt riverbeds and courses. Today was Earth Day, and Earth Day today. So I wanted to do something earthy with her, and anyway, we started looking at the globe on Google Earth, and we were like zooming into sort of various areas on the Earth, and then we were looking at these like mountains, and I started seeing these kind of like formations in the mountains where there were riverbeds, you know, like dried riverbeds. And so when you were just talking, I was thinking about flowing water, but I was also thinking about when the water dries up. And to me, there's nothing sadder than a dry riverbed. For some reason, like whenever I see a dry riverbed, I feel very sad. And sometimes it's just seasonal, and then the water comes back in the spring or in the winter. And sometimes they're just dried up for good. But I think it's incredible how on those satellite pictures, you see how the water's left its mark. You know, you see the trace of this movement that could be so old, you know, that could be decades, if not hundreds of years old. And it leaves its mark. And sometimes when I'm out kayaking here in the mangroves and the water's really murky, you know, and sometimes it can be really shallow and sometimes it can be really deep. And when I'm on top of it on the board, I sometimes get this kind of vertiginous feeling of like, oh, how high up am I from the bottom and what's under there? And it's almost like a kind of a nightmare image that it could dry up and then there'd just be a bed, you know? The idea of like exposing what's at the bottom, something that's just been covered up. And I feel a little bit like that right now, you know? I feel a little bit like, I mean, obviously the river keeps flowing, like we're here and we're alive and life is very much life, but there's elements that have dried up and there's elements that have stopped. And I feel like I'm able to see the bottom of the riverbed in some ways, and all the kind of murky objects that I was fearful to look at. Not so bad in varying degrees, and so wonderful to see where the water was and the power of the water, and knowing that it will come back next season. So those are that was my strange imagery that came from your story. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's very normal to feel that. I think we're all experiencing pain, even if it's not directly. There is so much suffering right now in the world, you know, so many people dying, and even this forced isolation is not natural. It goes against of what our nature, you know. So I think it's normal to be feeling that. Thank you for sharing that very powerful image.
Dainori, did you have a question?
I wanted to share that this year Happy News Earth Day is 3 days long. So it's that image of Gaia and the mother of all of us is something that just kind of speaks to my heart. It's also the blue planet with the water. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, Mother Nature. That's nice. I thought about that too, Mother Nature. In the sense that it seems like, you know, our Mother Nature needs a break from us. And when your mother needs a break from you, that's really bad.
Janet, let me unmute you really quick. Okay, go ahead.
Teresa, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Janet. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm in New Mexico, and you know, things here are, we're hermits always, so you know, not too different. How is your mother doing?
No, she's well. Thank you for asking. She's well. She's happy. She has good health. She's a good roommate because she's never anxious. So
She's in the perfect shape. Yes.
yes. It's been good to be with her, you know, right now. Thank you for asking. Yeah. So far, so good. We don't have any interactions with the outside world. Just two caregivers who come to help, and they take precautions. So hopefully, she'll remain healthy through this crisis till there is a vaccine. And happy to know that you're well.
I love you.
Me too.
Umar?
So, Teresa, you mentioning the water reminded me of you know, and Bonnie saying that, you know, a lot of old thoughts and memories are coming up, and that's what's happening recently to me too. You mentioning the water reminded me of the monsoons when I was growing up in Karachi. It would start raining in August and it would rain till October, 3 months straight. And it was just, it would rain and rain and rain, and water would just get everywhere and into everything. And going to school was horrible. Schools would be closed, you know, forced staying home. There was no electricity sometimes because the water would cut out the electricity. If you guys have seen Parasite, the way that the water is coming into the houses in Korea is how it used to come in. And it would just get everywhere. But, you know, that used to pass too. And malaria would come up after the rains because of the mosquitoes. People would get sick and die, and some people would get healthy and they would go home or from the hospitals. But you know, this is just we're going through something that I was thinking is very similar to a monsoon without the rain, because it's like we're just being forced to stay at home, but this is also going to pass. This is just, nothing stays the same. But one thing will happen is that we're going to come out of this changed for the better. All of us are going to come out from this changed and a whole lot better, because as Bonnie said, that it's all about going inside. When you go inside, you realize how much of the stuff that you've been carrying around you don't need anymore. And once you let go of that, you let go of a lot of physical things too. So it's a good thing and a bad thing, but yes, there is a lot of death and destruction that is happening in the world, but we have to, just take one moment at a time and keep going. That's all we can do. And this is our life. This is just like the water. It has flow. So this is our life, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing the best way we can do what we can, stand up for the right things, support each other, be there for each other, and we are the people who make up the Sangha. And so, this is a good thing what we're doing now, and what we do every morning for Zazen, even if it's sitting at home and being a part of the community. Community is what keeps us alive.
Yes.
Let's keep connected. That's what I would say. That's the best thing to do. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your words, Umar. You really are such a crucial members of our community, and being far away from less and from the Sangha is been a challenge for me, for sure. So I'm glad that we have this platform to keep us connected. And Rene wrote on his entry on the site that Kaizen and I work on, he wrote something about the journey continues. And that made me feel a little bit, I don't know, what's the word? I don't know if it's uncomfortable, but I know some people in the Sangha have told me that some of them are thinking about going back to their countries, and so this idea that the journey continues, you sometimes even want the journey to continue, but you cannot do anything to stop it. It has to continue.
Otoko, let me unmute you. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to say thank you for the Sangha, and although I was away, living in East Bay, I couldn't attend the sessions or sittings. I was really thinking about you guys and, the encounters I had or lectures or, someone asked the questions. And so I didn't feel like I was away. So this is a very odd feelings for me. Like, you are in me all the way. So it was really nice. And like what Bonnie said, like when you look inward, it's there. Like you don't need to, right? Like hug and share the same space. Like I can kind of tap into the same space I shared. So that has been very helpful. And your words really resonated within me. That kept me going. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the beautiful flower arrangements that you make. Japanese.
Yeah, I plan to resume.
Huh?
I plan to resume, making the flower arrangements. Yes.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I wanted to say that Japanese have this incredible ability to create beauty.
Thank you. So do everyone.
Thanks.
Any last questions or comments? From anyone? Okay. Well, I have a couple announcements. One is that this Saturday is our well-being service. So if there's anyone that you would like us to send, healing energy at this time, you can send their names to Craig, who is our our Kokyo. And if you don't have Craig's contact information, just send it to me and I'll send it to Craig. He's going to be leading the chants for this Saturday service. And Teresa will be leading the program this Saturday service. So normally I've been leading the program, like ringing the bells and the schedule. So Teresa will be doing that. I might pop in and out, but I'm going to be an all-day retreat with Natalie, who was my first teacher many years back. And so I will be doing an all-day retreat. So I might try to pop in, but I definitely wanted someone else to be able to run the program, and Teresa has offered to do that. And it'll also be great because then we'll have more than one person who knows how to, you know, share the chant book and get comfortable with that. So the schedule is going to be the same, 5:30 a.m., 6:20, and service at 7, and then 9:30 meditation this coming Saturday. I think that's all I have. Oh, and then next week, is it Vanessa or Brenda? I think it's Brenda, right?
No, Vanessa.
Oh, Vanessa. Okay. So Vanessa is going to be our speaker next week. Vanessa, is there any particular topic that you want us to know about, or is it a surprise? Let me unmute you. Sorry. There we go.
It's a surprise.
It's totally a surprise. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. All right, so Vanessa will be our speaker next Wednesday night. And as usual, if anyone wants to volunteer for Kokyo or, you know, anything. Oh, and then I think you've also seen the emails. So we've started to formalize or be a little bit more organized around taking care of the facilities at Kanendo. So Lee and Umar have been leading that. But we've started a volunteer calendar. So, you know, thanks to those of you who have already been volunteering, like, you know, Nick's been sweeping our Ngawa, so we don't have leaves piling up. And there's always, you know, it's weed season, so there'll be plenty of opportunities to help with the garden. So we can still go and, you know, meditate in the garden. Feel free to walk around in the garden. It's a great place to walk. And the main thing is just we can't congregate in groups, but we can still go there, you know, in 1, 2, or 3 people and space out and still take care of Kanendo and the facility and enjoy it as well. Okay, I don't have any other announcements. Does anyone else have any other announcements? Okay, good. Thank you, Teresa, for a really heartfelt and inspiring talk. And thanks again for the Together 2020 page that you and Kaizen put together. If anyone wants to contribute to that, you can send your contribution to Teresa. And you're free to go now, or you can hang out and grab tea or whatever.